Hello everybody, long time no see. My hair is now pink. So, midlife crisis? Who? Hey guys, my name is Miranda and welcome to my universe. Today I am going to be reviewing a young adult fantasy series that I have been reading for what feels like the past few months. And that is Caraval by Stephanie Garber. This is a trilogy, so there are 3 books to it, and it basically follows around our 2 main characters, Scarlett and Tella, who are sisters, as they get wrapped up into this magical game that basically is kind of like a mystery. It has a mystery, whimsical feel to it, where there is a lot of magic and there are a lot of performers. Basically, any person who enters this game has no idea what is real and what is not. What is a part of the game, what is a part of Caraval, what is a part of real life. Like, there are so many different twists in this series. You never really know who you should trust. Now, overall, I did really like this trilogy. I actually gave both of the first 2 books 5 stars, and this one got 4 stars. So I did enjoy it, but I do have a lot to talk about, a lot of complex emotions. There's a reason why this series took me so long to read. So let's just get into each book and how I felt. So, first book, Karvall. This book is so amazing. I read this book super fast. I would say that this one is my favorite in the series just because Stephanie Garber did such an incredible job introducing this world and revealing the characters to you. I have found out that as a reader, I really like whimsical settings and I really like circus or carnival-esque settings. So I feel like that was also a big reason why I really liked this series, was just because everything was super magical. Everything felt so beautiful. I just think that the whole entire concept of Caraval is so creative and so unique. I don't know. I just, within itself, that made this first book so incredible, and of course that was a theme that played throughout the rest of the books as well, so I thought that was so much fun. Wow. In this first book, we follow around Scarlett, who is the oldest daughter. She's not a very big risk taker, so really she is the sister who kind of makes sure everybody is safe, and she makes sure that her sister Tella is okay and that she doesn't get into any trouble. Following her around, you get more of how she sees the world and how she sees Karvall. She sees it as something that is super risky, something super dangerous, something that they shouldn't get involved in. And then when Tella kind of gets whisked away, she's like, well, now I have to go save her. The whole entire point of this game in this book is actually to find Tella. So everybody who is a part of the game has to follow the clues in order to find Tella. So Scarlett obviously has no choice but to be a part of the game, and she meets a ton of the performers and a bunch of the characters along the way, and so we get to meet our love interest, or at least our main love interest in Scarlett's world. There are a lot of love interests in this entire series. There are so many good quotes and so many concepts and themes of love in this series, because there are some characters who are super magical and they actually can't love. That is something that they cannot do at all, otherwise it makes them human, but I'll explain that later since they don't really show up in this one. This first book, I just loved it. I completely fell in love with Scarlett's character. I fell in love with the world. I think Stephanie Garber, her writing style is very magical, and it definitely, of course, added to the story as a whole. So yes, I finished this book super fast and I enjoyed every single part of it. Then we have Legendary, which is the second book in this series. This book we follow around Tella, and I actually had a super hard time with that when I first was starting this book. It took me a very long time to actually get into, just because when I first started, I realized, wait, now this is from Tella's point of view, but I love Scarlett, so this makes me really upset. But of course I kept reading because I wanted to at least give Tella a chance, and I'm very glad I did. Turns out I actually relate to Tella more than I do to Scarlett, so that was super interesting. That made it more fun for me because I felt so many connections to her. Tella is more adventurous and she is definitely more extroverted. She's way more carefree than her sister Scarlet. So whenever she does things, she's kind of just like, I gotta do it all, you know, like I'm gonna go to that party. Why not? I'm going to dress up. Why not? I'm gonna be a part of Caraval again. Why not? So she gets into a lot of trouble and a lot of mischief. And in this book, it really follows around the sisters' relationship more, which I really enjoyed. It also talks a lot about their mother, who actually left them when they were younger. They were left with their very manipulative and abusive father. I liked getting to know them as characters more by learning about their past and learning about their family experiences. I thought it was very eye-opening, and it allowed me to really understand and connect to Scarlet and Tella way more than if I was to know nothing about their family. So this book is kind of like a whole new adventure from the first book. Even though we follow around the same characters and this takes place after the first year that they are a part of Caraval, this is kind of like a completely new adventure because we are following around Tella, and her heart is definitely set on finding her mother. She is determined to find out what happened to her mother, where her mother is, why her mother left them. This is when the fates come in, and I touched a little bit on them before. Those are the people who can't love. If this was Percy Jackson, the fates would be the equivalent of the Greek gods and the Greek goddesses. There are many different fates. We have one named Poison, we have one named the Assassin, we have the Prince of Hearts, the Undead Queen, different random kind of mysterious names like that. So in this one, we meet a lot of the fates, and they are pretty evil, actually. They are not good people generally. They have very bad intentions for the human race. They kind of see them as weak and as dispensable because the fates are immortal. They cannot die, or they can die, but then they kind of respawn. I know that that's not like the word for it. They come back to life again a few hours later. Every single fate does have a weakness, so there is a way that you can kill them permanently, and that is if they love. If they fall in love, it doesn't matter what kind of love they feel, they actually become human when they fall in love. So years and years in the past, they ended up being trapped in these cards, in these magical playing cards, and they eventually escape these cards. So amidst all of the chaos of Tella trying to find her mother, the fates are now running rampant, and they have to basically pinpoint how they can defeat them. We also meet the love interests of Tella. Tella is definitely more of a love triangle, at least towards the end of this book. And then in this last book, there is definitely a huge love triangle. But let's just move on to this last book, actually. I think I've said enough of Legendary. I gave this book 5 out of 5 stars, but it was very hard for me to get into it. So if you want to read this series and you are struggling with the first part of this book, trust me, that's normal. I had the same experience, but the ending gets so much better. All right, now on to the last book, finale. This is my least favorite book in the series, just because there was a lot of confusion on my part. I don't know if it was just me. In this book, we flip-flop between Tella and Scarlet's points of view. So now we get both of their points of view. So we get all of the love interests. We get all of the fates. This book basically is all about love, if I'm being completely honest with you. You don't gotta worry about sex scenes or anything like that. This is it's clean. This whole series is very clean in that area, but it does talk a lot about themes of love and how these fates, they can't love, but they are everybody's trying to defeat the fates, trying to keep the city safe from the fates. So you don't know who to trust though, because one of the love interests with Tella is a fate. I was gonna say something else, but that would have totally given away some things, so I'm not gonna say that, but one of them is a fate. So that kind of plays an even bigger part in Tella's relationship and with the way that she sees her relationships with these guys and how she makes a lot of her decisions. Side note, I disagree with Tella's decision. I think Tella chose the wrong guy. I think that the one that she chose treated her like crap, and even though both of them are very ambiguous, they aren't very good or bad, they both have a lot of evil within themselves that they have to deal with. So really, both of them are kind of terrible people. She could have done so much better, and she really kind of fell for the easy way out. I think, sorry, I'm probably gonna start a whole lot of arguments, but anyway, first of all, the first half of this book, I was super bored and I felt like I had to drag myself through it. But of course, the world is magical still, and I really do love Stephanie Garber's writing. I absolutely love it so much. I think it's one of my favorite writing styles. So that's what really kept me going, and I love these characters. I feel for them, and I really wanted to find out who Tella chose in the end. The love triangle completely messed with me. So that's what really kept me going, and that's why it did get a 4-star instead of less than 4 stars. It still kept the 4 out of 5 because it was still good. It was a good ending to the series. I just felt like the first part was kind of boring for me, and then the last part just, it confused me a lot. There was a lot of questions that I still have about this series and about these characters that are left unanswered. There are some things in this book that I thought were super cheesy and kind of pointless. Characters chose to do things that in the end I feel like didn't matter, and that was just so off-putting to me. I don't know. I had a lot of issues with this book, but I still gave it 4 stars just because I did really love it still. I don't know. I'm weird. My emotions are weird. My feelings for this series are a little weird, but overall, I did enjoy it, and I do think it is worth reading. All right, guys. So with all of that being said, I love this series, so I highly recommend, if you enjoy carnivals, magic, whimsical worlds, anything of that sort, I definitely highly recommend Caraval to you, especially if you like young adult fantasies and you like romance. I mean, it's a great blend of all of those things, and I definitely had a fun time reading it. Thank you guys so much for watching. I love you all. Please be safe, make good choices, and I will see you next time. Bye!